Okay, good morning. Welcome to the 2019 Boston Marathon Press Conference. My name is Samantha Phillips. I'm the director of the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. I joined the agency just about 6 weeks ago and have been all marathon all the time. We look forward to sharing about our plans this morning with you. To begin, it's my privilege to introduce Undersecretary for Homeland Security from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Jean Benacasa-Thorpe.
Good morning. Thank you for coming today. I'm new to the job myself. I'm about 2.5 months in, and my job has been all about the marathon as well. It's my pleasure to be gathered here with all of you from our partner agencies that have been involved in the safety and security planning and race day coordination to ensure that we have a safe marathon this year. On Marathon Monday, approximately 7,000 public safety personnel, including 5,000 local, state, federal, law enforcement officers will be working to keep our race safe. Within the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, MEMA, the Mass State Police, the Massachusetts National Guard, the Department of Fire Services all play a critical role in the planning process and race operations. Law enforcement officers are supported by teams from the DFS and the National Guard. This is truly an interagency operation. We also collaborate closely with many of our state agencies, including the Massachusetts Department of Transportation and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. I would like to also acknowledge our federal partners, because without their resources and assistance, we would not be able to pull this marathon off. I'm happy to announce that Homeland Security, Secret Service, FBI, FEMA, ATF, FAA, EPA, and DEA have played a significant role with us in our planning. These federal resources, combined with our local and our state and regional resources, have made for a comprehensive, safety, secure plan to make this marathon as safe as possible. The Boston Marathon is one of the events that the Baker-Polito administration has been proactive at preparing for. In October of this year, Governor Baker signed an executive order to assemble a large venue task force to develop best practices for large preparedness for such as sports stadiums, convention centers, and other events. This work continues and is the safety and security planning for large spectator events like the Boston Marathon. I want to thank you all very much for coming today and helping us to share this important public safety information with runners, spectators, residents, and visitors. Now it's my pleasure to introduce and welcome the Boston Athletic Association Chief Executive Officer, Tom Grilk.
Thank you. Thanks, and good morning, everybody. I've been around for a while. Maybe a little bit of old furniture here. Now, we in Boston know that Boston continues to be accorded the respect of the world for its approach to strength, safety, resilience, and that tens of thousands of runners every year have come to depend on that. And we at the BAA know that the reason for all of that starts with the people and organizations represented in this room. Without them, without all of you, there is no race. So we remain intensely grateful on our own behalf and on behalf of those runners, the 10,000 volunteers and hundreds of thousands of spectators who come out every year for the magnificent work done by all of the public safety officials at all levels who put so much into this. In the words of a song, nobody does it better. Director?
Thank you. I'd like to just talk a little bit more about what the public can expect, how we have prepared for this event, and then I'm going to invite my colleagues from law enforcement to talk about their plans and the work of their agencies. So we certainly recognize that the point of this event is for it to be a wonderful community event and to watch people run the best marathon of their lives. And so we've been really thoughtful in our planning approach to make sure it's a wonderful event, but also one that's incredibly safe and secure. We want people to come out and enjoy the race, be a spectator, cheer on the wonderful runners, be part of this really great day in Boston on April 15th. There are some additions to our plans this year, certainly lessons learned from the cold and rainy marathon of last year, and we have updated our plans to ensure that we're providing safety and security and comfort for runners and spectators alike along the course. But generally, the approach to the Boston Marathon that you've seen in previous years is going to be very similar to this year. We're asking the public for their help and support as we keep this event secure and safe. Partnering with the public is, an important part of our mission. So first and foremost, we invite the public to just be aware of their surroundings. If they see something that looks alarming or suspicious, call 911 or report it to a police officer nearby. There's no harm in just having an open dialogue on race day. We encourage the public to not bring backpacks and coolers and other things. There's a long list of prohibited items that's available on the BAA website and the MEMA website. There will be security checks, so the fewer things you bring, the easier the process will be and help us have a smooth running event. This is a no drone zone, as a reminder, so the public should leave their drones at home for the marathon. But again, following these simple tips will really help us just have a smooth day on April 15th. I want to just take a moment to thank my colleagues, not only standing with me here today, but out in the field, and really thank my colleagues at MEMA who have done a wonderful job preparing for this event and working diligently for months leading up to this. And, since 2013, the plans have gotten better and better. And yes, I'm new to the Boston Marathon. I'm not new to marathons, and I'm not new to big special security events, but I have been just thoroughly impressed at what this community, both Commonwealth stakeholders and Boston colleagues and our communities along the race course have done in preparing for this event. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to a series of law enforcement officials. The first speaking will be FBI Special Agent in Charge Joseph Bonavolanta, followed by Massachusetts State Police Colonel Kerry Gilpin, and then the Boston Police Department Superintendent Bill Ridge, and batting cleanup for us is MBTA Transit Police Chief Ken Green. Thank you.
Good morning. Once again, my name is Joe Bonavolanta, and I'm the Special Agent in charge of the FBI Boston Division. In the coming days, over 1 million people will join us here in Boston to celebrate the 123rd running of the Boston Marathon. Everyone participating in this year's marathon should know that we are laser focused on finding and stopping any potential threat, and we are working around the clock to ensure that this year's event is safe and secure. At this point in time, neither the FBI nor any other United States government agency is aware of any specific or credible threats directed at this year's race. And while I'm confident in this assessment, I urge everyone to remain vigilant and be aware of your surroundings. It's been 6 years since terror struck at the core of our city, and the worst thing we can do is become complacent or too comfortable. If you see something, say something. I know it works, I know it's effective, and I know it can save lives. Homegrown violent extremists or lone actors who self-radicalize with little or no warning continue to be a concern of ours. Our greatest challenge is and will continue to be identifying them, given their ability to remain undetected until they decide to go operational. Following the recent attacks in New Zealand, terrorist organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda continue to call for retaliation. I can tell you the FBI has actively worked to collect and share intelligence to these threats so everyone here can make informed decisions on the best use of resources and are fully cognizant of any changes in the method of attacks, along with the latest tactics terrorists are using. As you can imagine, preparation for events such as this is an entirely cooperative effort. No one federal, state, or local agency can do it alone. The expertise of each participating agency standing up here today is critical to the success of a well-coordinated security plan. Similar to past years, members of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force will be integrated throughout all aspects of the marathon route. Our highly trained specialty teams are prepared and will be standing by to respond to any possible occurrence that may occur and require action on our part. They will be embedded within the command posts and supporting the Joint Intelligence Center, which will be stood up at our Chelsea headquarters to share intelligence, run database checks, and monitor and investigate any threat information that may arise. We continue to maintain a high state of readiness and to protect our communities from any threat or terrorist event. And as this is the first time the marathon falls on the actual anniversary date of the bombings, I'd ask everyone to please take a few minutes out of their day to remember all of the victims and their families whose lives were forever changed. Thank you. And now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Colonel Carrie Gilpin from the Massachusetts State Police.
Good morning. It's great to be able to join you again to discuss our plans for the 2019 Boston Marathon. To add just a brief note to what you have already heard today, the Massachusetts State Police and our law enforcement partners along the race route have a rigorous and multifaceted security plan in place. As always, much of that plan will be recognizable to the public. Troopers, local officers, and National Guardsmen in uniform, readily identifiable. Anyone with any concern or who sees anything suspicious may report it to any of these law enforcement or military personnel. You will also see our tactical units, canines, motorcycles, explosive ordnance technicians, and a full deployment of our State Police Air Wing. All 4 helicopters will be providing overflight support of the entire marathon route, each of them providing downlink of aerial views of the course to the incident command post in our Commonwealth Watch Center. At the starting line, you will also see approximately 170 state police trainees who are currently preparing to become state troopers at our academy. They will enhance our law enforcement presence in Hopkinton and will be utilized as extra sets of eyes looking out for anything or anyone seemingly out of place. I hope marathon participants and spectators also take comfort in the parts of the security plan they cannot readily see. Our undercover troopers and officers. They will include those with specialized training in detecting certain behaviors indicative of potential threats, along with analysts working with our federal law enforcement partners on constant alert for any intelligence or social media content that may hint at threats to event security. Also, in what has become a standard component of our security plan, numerous cameras along the course will allow us to observe suspicious or criminal activity and respond appropriately. In recent years, we have accounted for the possibility of drones posing a threat over the race course. Once again this year, we will be on alert for any unmanned aerial vehicles that potentially threaten event security and will take action as deemed necessary. Importantly, as of today, we are aware of no credible or specific threats to the event. However, we will remain hyper-vigilant up to and throughout the marathon. If you are running, watching, or just a concerned citizen, please be assured that the law enforcement partnerships in place here have done everything possible to maximize safety and security. And of course, if anyone sees anything or anyone suspicious, please report it to an officer or call 911. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you on race day.
Morning, everyone. Thank you. On behalf of Mayor Walsh and Commissioner Gross, I'd like to welcome everyone to come into the city of Boston to experience the Boston Marathon and race weekend, as we like to call it. Marathon is 13 days away. However, we're going to see the hype start tomorrow with the build-up. We'll start seeing construction going on. Starts the marathon hype, if you will, which leads into our marathon weekend. Series of events for the marathon weekend, beginning with our BAA 5K road race, our mile relay races in Copley Square, the kids relay race up and down Boylston Street, and of course ending with the pasta party on Sunday at City Hall Plaza. The day itself, marathon race day, it starts off starts off real early for us. We've got the buses that are leaving at 5 a.m. From the Boston Common, heading out to Hopkinton. The day itself, certainly is not lost. The 6th anniversary, April 15th, falls on the exact same day. And I'll just tell you, the policing, being a public safety officer, sometimes it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to not take things personal. And for a day like this, for an event like this, I'm telling you right now, the men and women of the Boston Police Department take this day personal. We were attacked 6 years ago today, and we have what we believe is a comprehensive safety and security plan to try to ensure safety and security for all the visitors, spectators, and runners in the Boston Marathon. And we'll do this through a multi-layered approach. We'll have, as the Colonel mentioned, we'll have EOD assets out there. We'll have hazmat assets out there working with the Boston Fire Department. We'll have undercover officers that'll be out there observing the crowd. We will again set up our checkpoints. Checkpoints will basically start at Audubon Circle, go all the way down the marathon course route, and those areas leading into the course. At which point we'll be asking people to look inside their bags. Again, we try to use the common sense approach. Please adhere to what the director asked is prohibited items. Please don't bring them down there. It'll just it'll back up the security checkpoints, if you will. So if you're coming through there and you have nothing on, you'll be able to walk right through the checkpoint. If you do have a bag, we're going to have to ask you to open it, and we'll check that out. We'll have plenty of EOD assets that'll be around, and again, we'll be using a multi-layered approach for this. We'll have officers. You'll see them up on roofs. There'll be observation posts along the route in the city of Boston. Again, this is to ensure the safety and security of all the visitors and spectators that come into the city. So again, we invite everyone to come down. This is a family-friendly, fun day. The mayor, the commissioner, inviting everyone to come into the city and enjoy all the events that are happening throughout the weekend, and we look for a very friendly, fun, safe day. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague and friend, Chief Kenny Green.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I just want to reiterate what my colleagues have already stated. Currently, there is no intelligence, credible or otherwise, to suggest that the MBTA or the marathon itself are targets. We are all well prepared for this event, as we are for every event. Many of the strategies that the transit police employ will be obvious to our riding public, such as an increased uniform presence in and around our stations, as well as specially trained SWAT officers in our deployments of our explosive detective unit as well. But there are many behind-the-scene measures that the transit police employ that will not be as obvious to a riding public as well. Regarding Marathon Monday, regarding service on Marathon Monday, Copley Station will be closed, as will the Berkeley Street side of Arlington Station. So they'll both be closed. With that being said, I want to encourage everyone coming out to the marathon to utilize the MBTA transportation system and enjoy the day. And remember, if you see something, say something. We are all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. At this point, we'll be happy to take questions, and we also have the law enforcement lead from all of the towns along the race course if you have questions for them.
Sam, you mentioned you mentioned the weather from last year, which was horrible. Are there any changes or anything that you mentioned about for the spectators or the runners? Any change because of the bad weather you had last year?
Yeah, so there have always been reception centers along the course. So MEMA has worked with our local partners to have additional shelter locations. And the Boston Athletic Association is also going to be providing buses that can be used for warming stations. Doesn't look like we're going to have excessive heat, but they could also be used as cooling stations. So in every community, there are those locations identified ahead of time.
How many buses?
There's a primary shelter location in every community. There's then at least one alternate, and each of them can hold several hundred people. And within each community, there's 2 buses, and then there's a surge of fleet buses, I think around close to 40.
Question for anyone there. 6-year anniversary. It's been 6 years since the bombing. how do you keep not only all the officers, but also the public from not becoming complacent? What do you say that we're not becoming complacent 6 years out from that tragedy?
Colonel, do you, or Superintendent?
How do we do it?
How do you do it, and what do you say to the public, yourselves and the public?
So I'll tell you what I say to our officers. And a lot of our officers were down there that day. You know, a lot of people can remember where they were on certain dates. I certainly know where I was April 15th, 2013 at 2:49 p.m. You know, I was on Boylston Street, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget what happened. And the men and women of the Boston Police Department, as I said before, they kind of take it personal what happened that day. And we instill in that. You know, when we're talking, we have our briefings, we have our roll calls. You know, certain events, you know, yearly events, it's same old show again, if you will. But the Boston Marathon is different. The Boston Marathon, you know, we take personal, as I said, and that's kind of instilled from the frontline supervisors all the way down to the men and women that are on the street on that day. So that's kind of how we deal with it. I mean, as far as the general public, you know, unfortunately, you know, the world conditions, if you will, kind of reiterate the facts that, you know, things happen. And, you know, as the director and the colonel have said, you know, if you see something, say something. So I think the general public gets reiterated on a regular basis. And I think when they're coming down towards the marathon and they kind of see the enhanced security that we have, they see the uniform visible presence, it probably resonates with them that, you know, this is being taken seriously by public safety. So that's kind of how I think it translates, transitions over to the general public. Okay.
I also just want to address that in terms of the public. I think that all of Massachusetts takes the marathon of 2013 very personally. None of us will forget those famous words of David Ortiz. I'm not going to repeat them because I might not have a job tomorrow, but we all know what those words are, and they go right to our core. You also can go out, I mean, the weather's not great today, but if you walk around any streets of Boston, you're going to see people still wearing Boston Strong t-shirts. You go to Logan Airport, and you're going to see Boston Strong t-shirts. What the marathon of 2013 is still absolutely in everybody's mind, and it brought us together. I hate to say that tragedy sometimes does that, but I don't think anyone is complacent. I think it's still in everybody's mind, and everyone is still vigilant and remembers that. And I just want to reiterate, Boston is strong.
Director Phillips, the One Boston Day activities, the memorials and the service projects that day, how will that mesh with the actual running of the race? Will there be any changes to either of those?
No, but I'm going to pass that to Tom Grillick to talk about that.
And this may not be as satisfactory as you like. The question has to do with One Boston Day, which traditionally on the anniversary of the bombing has been a day of service. There have been quiet remembrances among families who were so profoundly affected that day, and that resides entirely with the city of Boston. And I would not presume to say exactly how that will be handled, but I know it is very much on the minds of city officials, and they are communicating regularly with the families of those who were so affected that day. So more to come from the city of Boston.
I wanted to talk a little bit about how this planning has changed with the marathon since. So you were here prior to the bombing and then subsequently. How could we do a comparison to talk about how it's different, how it's changed, how it's been some dramatic change?
Well, our planning is entirely focused on support to runners and volunteers. We don't provide public safety. It is the public safety officials who do that. So
from your observations, obviously you've seen it occur over the last.
What we have seen is what these public safety officials up here have described, that they have brought a sense of responsibility to this and a sense of taking it personally throughout the organization that has driven their planning. And it is felt by everyone, including by us.
Given the city runs the One Boston Day tributes, what will the BAA specifically be doing, if anything, on race day in regards to the anniversary?
We will, to reiterate, work with the city and follow their lead on whatever it is and wherever it is that they wish to do something. We'll be helpful, but it's the city that is in regular contact with all of the families who were most affected.
This question is for law enforcement, but right now there are no credible threats to the marathon. But in years following the bombing, have there been credible threats or
So speaking for any specific or credible threats, no. It's something that we're continuously working on in the months, days, weeks and days leading up to the marathon. So the answer would be no to that, and that's where we stand right now, is no specific or credible threats. However, the reason why that we made it a point to bring up the threat of homegrown violent extremists and why it's something that is a concern and why we need the community to really be on the outlook for that as well, even pre-marathon day, is because these are individuals who have obviously shown the propensity to go from a radicalization or preparatory phase to operational phase in a very short period of time. So it's just something that we've always stated out there in years past, and we're going to continue to do this year as well.
Well, great. Thank you very much for joining us this morning and being part of this press conference. I should just conclude by saying both the City of Boston and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts have emergency alerting tools. Boston has a text system, and the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency has an app for emergency alerts, and we encourage the public to download those tools, and we will be pushing information to the public using those two systems throughout the weekend leading up, and then certainly on Marathon Day. Thank you very much.